What's going on, guys? It is another pretty beautiful, mostly sunny day here on Sunshine Coast in Queensland, and let's hope, fingers crossed, it stays a pretty good day. So today I am going to do a leak down test on this RB25 and this VL, and as you saw from the last video of it, it snapped an exhaust cam, which is less than ideal. Usually results in bent valves. So the only way for me to really test that with the motor together is to go and do a leak down test, because can't do a compression test because got no cam. So, fingers crossed for Dan's sake that it's all right and we can just drop some new cams in and go again. But as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, the 25 is an interference motor. So the fact that a cam has snapped while it's driving it would be very, very rare for it to be okay. So what pretty much happened with it, it was a week from when Dan dropped it off to when he came to pick it up, drive it home. It was a total of like 3.5 days work after I ran around here and got everything done that I needed to get done. So Dan was quite happy. It was driving really well. He did decide to drive it home without it getting final tuned, just because it was the same cams and same everything as was in the last motor, and we ended up getting it timed okay. So that was fair enough, I suppose. It didn't get all the way home, and lucky for him, I was coming past with my trailer anyway, so ended up just towing it back to his place for him. So we've got our compression tester there, which was borrowed off Sam White at Whitey's Wiring. So big shit out to Whitey's Wiring for letting me borrow that, just because obviously I don't have any of my tools down here and Dan's car's down here. So Sam let me borrow that, which is awesome, and a compressor lead from Adam. So thank you to Adam. And Dan has a compressor at his house, so gotta go there, do a leak down test. Hopefully it's all good. Alright, so obviously the point of the leak down test is to ensure all the valves are closed while you do the leak down test, which means we have to make sure the cams are off lobe. Obviously to do this you need to turn over cams and all that sort of stuff. I was hoping to get away with just doing the leak down test using a spanner to turn the exhaust cam so it was off the lobes of the ones I needed to do. If you are doing that, you need to pay very careful attention to what's top dead center and make sure you don't force anything over, because obviously things may contact, so you don't want to be forcing anything. But either way, Dan doesn't actually have a spanner to fit the cam, so I cannot actually turn it while it's in there, because obviously the cam gets snapped off. So I'm gonna have to take the exhaust cam out to do this leak down test, because otherwise I won't be able to get the exhaust valves to shut properly on a few cylinders, which is a pain, but it just has to be done. At least then I only have to have one side to worry about, which is I suppose a plus. So anyway, to remove the exhaust cam, it's pretty much the same as an install except reversed. You start in the center and work your way out about one turn at a time. Do it real slow, otherwise you can damage the cam. It doesn't particularly matter with this because the cam's rooted, but you also don't want to do any damage to the journals in the head or anything. So start in the center and work your way out one turn at a time, just the same way you would install them. You'd start at each end and work in one turn at a time. So there are sequences to it. There's plenty of info on the internet out there for anyone who's looking to do that sort of thing, but exhaust cam's gonna have to come out so I can do this test properly. The other thing to remember with doing a leak down test is you are filling a cylinder with a fair bit of cylinder pressure, enough to turn over an engine. So what I do is whack the car in gear. I also chock it, just to ensure it doesn't move anywhere. Fairly precautionary, but you know, just little things you got to look out for, otherwise it could cause a bit of damage. So anyway, I'm gonna have to get this exhaust cam out. So 5's pretty good. 2 is very good, must be some real tight ring gap on there. Really good on 6. Again, must be a pretty tight ring gap. Righto, so after ginning around for a bit, I sort of decided that this tester is only testing at 10 PSI. That's what it seems to be regulated to, which I just didn't feel really was enough for the percentage that it was seeing, or the percentage difference. So obviously on a few of these it was showing like down around 5, and on 5 and 1 it was showing around 20, which at 10 PSI, that is quite a large difference. So what I did was just plug the end straight into the tester and see what it come up as, and even completely open it was like 35, which is obviously not a very good indication. So what I ended up doing is just, because the compressor says it's got a 90 PSI reg, so I just ended up plugging the compressor straight to the thing and bypassing the whole leak down tester, because obviously it's not high enough pressure, and took the V-band off the back of the turbo, and I have found that 1 and 5 exhaust valves are obviously not in a good way, which is a shame, but sort of expected when something like this happens. So that makes sense because that is the firing order, 1-5, so obviously it's broken and done 1 and 5, which is a real shame. So unfortunately it means head's got to come back off. Fingers crossed there's no damage to the valve seats, and depends on what's going on with those pistons too. I wouldn't imagine that bending those valves would do that much damage to the pistons. Motor still turns over well, does all that fine. But yeah, obviously 1 in 5 exhaust valves are not in a good way, which is a shame, but it is what it is. Righto, so not the results we wanted. Very unfortunate for Dan for that sort of thing to happen. Just sucks, but it's cars. It's just one of those things, I suppose. So F's in the chat for Dan's RB25, but it's all fixable, so I'll get on to fixing that next week. Welcome back, boys and girls. Picking up where we left off. At the moment, I'm on the way over to Dan's place to pick up his very broken VL. Take it back out to the workshop and get this motor back out of it. Hopefully get it fixed pretty soon. Another absolutely beautiful day here on the sunny coast. So anyway, I'm not looking forward to having to try and load this VL on my own at Dan's place. Like, got to back up to this shed door so I can get it on the winch and get it out, but it's like a uphill to the shed door, so got to try and get the VL onto the trailer and then get the trailer to come down sort of to the point where it's going to be back down. Obviously I'm going to have to be on the winch to get it up, and then I've got to try and stop it from going too far forward and hitting the winch. And so yeah, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the bum. But anyway, got to do what you got to do. Righto guys, so a lot of people still ask me about what I reckon about this Falcon wagon as a tow rig. And aside from me kissing its ass every chance that I get, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of a look at, you know, how well it really does. So I loaded up here with the VL, didn't actually get it loaded up. It was a real pain. At Dan's on my own, but got it there. So fully dressed VL, street trim. I'd assume would probably be around 1,200, maybe 1,300 kilos. My trailer's 650 tear, so we're looking at, you know, probably close to 2 ton. And heading up the range here, it's quite a hot day. Ambient temps are up probably around 30 degrees Celsius, probably a bit less, high 20s. And I'm just cruising up the range. Knock it back into the BTR's got the sports mode, so I just knock it back into second and just cruise up the range. I just do that so that it keeps the auto off from the clutches a bit, so it keeps it in gear so it doesn't heat up so much, I like to think. That's one thing I would like to do this car, is put a massive big trans cooler on it. And yeah, it'll just, obviously a speed limit up this range is 60k an hour. This thing does not let up an inch. It will just hold 60 the whole way in second, not a single problem. I will leave people behind in this thing up ranges. So this range isn't like a super steep gradient sort of range, but it is quite long. And as you can see, this thing just sits about halfway temp, never gets over that. And I have the AC cranking because it's quite a hot day. So I'm cruising in luxury in my auto wagon with cruise control on a nice hot day in the cold, towing this car up the range with absolutely no queries at all. So the only downside to it, obviously, is that fuel consumption there, which it does get up there. It uses a lot of fuel, but it's a small price to pay for what this car does achieve, considering what I paid for it. So top of the range, back into drive, and we're good to go. Cruise down the other side. So considering I paid $1,200 for this car, I then fixed a few things, got it roadworthy. I've done 40,000 Ks in it. I've towed a lot with it, and all it is a dead stock BA Falcon. It's got 340 Ks on it now. I just service it every 10,000 Ks. It's got a 2.3 ton tow bar and some upgraded Pettis springs. And apart from that, I think it's just an absolute dream to get around in. So for anyone that keeps asking me, yes, I very highly rate the Falcon for towing as a cheap tow rig if you're in the market. And this is just dead stock too. For a little bit of dollars, you could probably set them up a lot better. If you set it up with a nice big trans cooler and got rid of where the trans cooler goes through the radiator, because it's a known issue with them that corrodes, and it ends up mixing the trans fluid with the water, and that kills your tranny straight away. So that's a known issue that's good to get onto straight away. So if you put a big trans cooler on them, keep the trans nice and cool. If you put airbags in the back of them just to stiffen the back of them up a bit, they'd be, yeah, absolutely awesome. So yeah, I rate it very highly. It does also help that my trailer is amazing. It tows so well. It's really well balanced. It's really easy to load, very balanced. Really nice trailer. So that helps a lot, but still I'm very sure that this combo, this old Falcon wagon jigger that absolutely hauls ass when it's towing, I'm sure it surprises quite a lot of people, but yeah, pretty happy with it for the money. And for any of you who are watching that don't already know, I have had a lot of tow rigs. I've had 80 series had 80 series Land Cruisers. I've had literally every single one they had. In the 80 series, I've had a 1FZ, I've had a 1HZ, and I had a 3F. I've had TD42 GQ Patrol, TD42 Turbo. I had a PX Ranger 3.2 litre turbo diesel when they first came out. I had a PX. Also had a NP300 Navara, 2.3 litre, 4-cylinder. That was a good tow vehicle, but trust me, for the money, this Falcon is incredible. All right, so we got here as normal. Falcon didn't let us down, but same as always, don't really like to stop and vlog and do things while I'm working on other people's stuff. So just gonna chuck this on time lapse because that way you can see it and it doesn't cost me any time. So this is the broken cam that I pulled out when I did the leak down test. You can see where it's snapped like in front of that journal. And that journal doesn't have any signs of oil starvation or anything like that. All looks to be pretty good. So I'm quite sure that there's no oil blockages to that journal or that bearing surface. I think it's quite good. So it's snapped in front of that, just behind the seal surface. You can see where that's snapped. But anyway, I checked the numbers on this. It is a H12, or whatever it is. It's the, I checked the numbers with Kelford. There we go. HL182B, which is a 270 duration 935 lift. So pretty much your stage 2 Kelford cab. It's still quite an aggressive cam. It's about as aggressive as Dan wanted to go when he said to buy new ones. So checking that this is actually in fact that exact cam is good, because it means that what I can do is probably get this intake cam out. I'll send that to get crack tested, make sure that cam's okay. Pretty sure they should crack test cams, same way they crack test a crank. So just make sure that's all right, and then I should be able to just get a replacement exhaust side from Kelford and hopefully save Dan some money. So start looking at doing that. Anyway, time to get this motor out. Righto, heads off. As you can see, number 5, we've got marks there from when they contacted valves, and on number 1, as the leak down test signified. So, this we already knew. As you can see, they are absolutely toasted. Like, very, very bent. Incredibly bent. So, yeah. To be honest, they all look like they've contacted a little bit. Anyway, 1 and 5 are absolutely cooked. Completely toast. So, hey, unfortunate thing to happen on a fresh motor, but anyway. Get it back together and get it back in there and get it running properly and get it done good. All right, sorry guys. I had a kingfisher in the shed that I was trying to get out, so I turned all the lights off to try and get the kingfisher out, and I think he's finally gone. And anyway, then my phone went flat, so I went and had dinner in a shower and stuff. But anyway, that's going to be it for this episode of the long roof wagon, long roof VL. So yeah, as I said, pretty unfortunate thing to happen on a new motor, but whatever, these things happen. So the plan at the moment, the head is going back to the bloke who built the engine. He does his own machine work, so he wants the head back to redo it. So he's going to be going through the head, redoing the valves, and that'll come back to me as a fresh head with bare without any cams. The intake cam here, going to try and get this crack tested ASAP. Obviously with where this snapped, it's a bit of a hard one as to whether it may have been previously damaged or something like that. So for peace of mind, we'll get the intake crack tested, and hopefully, I've talked to Halford, they will sell us a single cam. So I just need to give them the numbers of this and let them know what CAS drive it is, and they will send us just a replacement exhaust side. So that way Dan gets out of it fairly cheap. I haven't actually had a look at what springs are in the head, valve springs, but obviously they must be pretty good if the motor was running these cams previously. They can't be too bad if it wasn't getting any valve float. So that's pretty much the plan at this point, is get that intake cam crack tested. As long as it comes back all good, we just get a new exhaust cam, get the head redone, get it back together, get it back in the car, get it going again. So Dan gets out of it at a pretty good price, which is good for him. So everyone sort of wins. It's a good situation. So fingers crossed this intake cam comes back from a crack test all good. But either way, we will be doing a bit more content on this as we go. These are all along for the ride now. So yeah, a few things I'm going to look at this tomorrow. Going to look at fixing up his intercooler. It's a bit crooked. The radiator mounts are a bit agricultural. There's a few things that we're going to look at, trying to tidy up a bit on this car tomorrow and do a few things. So I'll see you then. It'll be on the next one. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good night, whatever night it is.